Thanks for selling your car to Carvana. Here's your check.
Whoa, when did I get here?
What do you mean?
I swear it was just moments ago that I accepted a great offer from Carvana online. I must have time traveled to the future.
It was just moments ago. We do same-day pickup. Here's your check for that great offer.
It is the future.
It's the present and just the convenience of Carvana. Sorry to blow your mind.
It's all good. Happens all the time.
Sell your car the convenient way to
Carvana.
Pickup times may vary and fees may apply.
Welcome back to Used to Sew, a podcast about sewing machines, sewing history, and sewing culture in the past and present. I am your producer and co-host Aradia, daughter of your main host, T.R. Kelly, who is here today to talk to you about the Singer 201 and its close sibling, the 1591. This episode is a deep dive into the field marks for identifying early Singer sewing machine models, building off of our work in the electricity episodes to understand the progression of machine features over the decades. In part 2 of that 2-part series, we talked about how the Singer 101 was too innovative and futuristic for its time. And now, that overenthusiasm is paying off as the 201 learned from the mistakes of the 101 and went on to be so successful that literally millions were made. This episode was partly inspired by a friend of mine sending me a photo of a derelict 201, and at the time of this recording, I didn't have much more detail on the context of how they found it. While editing this episode, I asked them for more details, and they were kind enough to tell me the basic history of the building. I'll let you know those details at the end of the episode. We also talk about the differences between industrial and professional grade machines, what the cutoff is for the definition of portable, and why you might not want a 201 after all. Before we get to that, I feel like I need to at least acknowledge that we've had a few more Patreons join us since our last shout-out. I'll save the actual shout-outs for the next recording session with Mom, but I just wanted to let the 4 people who deserve shout-outs know that I haven't forgotten you. Also, we got more fan mail? Fantastic stuff. Keep it coming.
Here we are, back in the Coast Range. You're in the far west side of the Coast Range. I'm on the east side of the Coast Range, but we're all in the sewing room here at Used to Sew. Welcome to our sewing room. Don't you just love the smell of a hot iron in the morning?
Yes.
Well, when last we spoke, one of the last times, I don't know how the episode order goes, but we had recently talked about the 301 that we got on our thrifting trip. And then you reminded me, right, that we had done the 101 back when we talked about electricity, but we had skipped over the 201. We had a little bit about it when we talked about the vibrating shuttle, the oscillating shuttle, and the full rotary shuttle. But we didn't really talk about much more about the 201. So I think as we're moving along the Singer timeline here, we need to stop and do a thing on the 201. And I want you to tell the story about that you just told me a couple days ago when we were sorting through Mom's stuff here about that one of your friends sent you a picture. Tell us.
Yeah. So we did do a bunch of stuff about the 201. We made a bunch of audio gags about it with the angel voices, right? Like that's been the angel voice machine. We have talked about it before, but it has not gotten its own titled episode. And for the sake of completion, we really should do that. And coincidentally, a few days ago, one of my many internet friends that I have found through various Wheel of Time Discord server ecosystems, there's sort of a weird corner of us floating about out there. They all know I'm into sewing machines because I'm a podcaster, so they all know everything that I'm into that is fit for public consumption. And so someone sent me a picture being like, hey, I found this machine and I thought you'd be interested in it. And the full story behind it is slightly longer. It's that they and their spouse bought an old high school in 2013 and found this sitting in the grass outside of the old gym. And so the picture of this machine is, as you can imagine, quite rusty and covered with spider web, bug debris, like that kind of thing. It's been sitting in a lawn for at least, since 2013, if not longer because it was old in 2013. So it would have been sitting there longer than that. So it's quite rusty, but you can easily see the Singer logo and the Singer manufacturing decal across the top. And I looked at it at first and I'm like, I don't know anything about sewing machines. Like I can tell it's a black sewing machine, whatever. And then I realized that just like in geology, there's sort of this like standard checklist you go through to like sort a rock out, and you don't actually have to know that much in order to start making a more educated guess.
Right, like
about
a key.
what you're looking at. Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking at it and I go, oh, it's got the pretty swoopy old style black lines, which lets me know that it's from before the 301, right? Because we've talked about the 301 having very different lines and getting away from this design. So like, oh, so this has to be before that. But then I also was looking at it and I could see it had a lot of the same features as mine, like the way that the bobbin winder is positioned, the stitch selector. A lot of that looks like my 1591. So I'm like, okay, this is in the general vicinity of a 1591. I'm looking a little closer. It's got the light built in and attached on the front. So like it's not too old, right? Because it's got that. But also, everything is rusted on it. But it has this weird thing on top where the top spool goes. It's this like flat thing. It's a flat oval with 3 holes in it, and mine doesn't have that. So I'm like, I know it's not a 1591, but it's generally in the realm of a 1591.
Oh, interesting.
And it's got like a very square decal on it down at the bottom, but again, super rusty. So yeah, I was like, I know actually kind of roughly what this is. This is somewhere in the 201, 1591. It's somewhere around there. And it was very gratifying to realize you've taught me so much. Oh, and I can tell the hand wheel is electric, right? I can see the motor on the back, and I can tell if the hand wheel is meant to be electric.
Oh, you saw the pot motor with no belt.
Yeah. And the tension is positioned on the front. There's all these little things that you've talked about over these episodes. And I was like, holy shit, I actually can narrow this down. So then I was able to write to my friend, I have a machine extremely similar to this that is probably totally able to be repaired to perfect working condition, and it's probably not very rare. That's probably not a super rare machine, but if you wanted a sewing machine, you could put it back together and make it go again if you wanted. And it was just really gratifying to be able to tell them that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very much like when you're describing the pieces that you see in, like, I'm a birder, and we talk about field marks. What are the, and it must be something like that in geology too, when you start to key something out. Okay, start here. Is it this or that? If it's that, then
exactly. It's a flow chart.
Yeah, or like
decision tree.
Now there's an app for that. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody has made a sewing machine app.
Yeah, probably.
This is one fella. His name was Dick Whiteman, Captain Dick. I think he might still be around, but he's a very knowledgeable about old singers. And he made, when was this? This was the late 90s, I think. Captain Dick's Field Guide to Early Singers. And it was a key, and it didn't have any pictures. It was just look at it. Does it have this? If so, go to page 13. And it was really cool. And I used to have one. I wish I still had it. And I don't know if it's online anywhere, because this was you know how sewing machine community is. We're just a bunch of small self-published people with lots of information. But making a key, which is kind of what you were doing in your mind, you saw certain features which let you rule out or rule in. Is it this or is it that?
Right.
So it's I hadn't thought about that when you said, it's curvy, so it's pre-301. Ah, yes. Not necessarily the machine serial number itself, because there was a lot of overlap with years, but the design, where did it come in the design line?
Right, yeah. It's very geology-like, right?
Yeah,
Picking out, like, how this rock got to this location versus where was this rock formed. Those are very different things.
Right. Oh, very much so. Yeah. So the other day, Randy says, what's that bird? And I look at it, and right away, field mark. It's got a pink beak and a dark head. Well, it's a junco. I mean, that's what it is here.
Right. Yeah.
So you saw that flat plate on the top there, which comes off so you can grease the gears. 1591 doesn't have gears up there. 201 does. As we talk about the 201 here, I found an excellent page that compares those two machines.
Okay.
Because they were concurrent in their lifespan. They were available at the same time. 201 was top of the line. 1591 was the next one down. So yeah, I'm going to mix in. You just really kind of, oh yeah, I should compare these two, as I was hearing you talk about, because you have a 1591, and you folks out there listening might have heard us call this machine Exuberant.
Yes.
That's its name.
That's this individual machine's name. We have christened it Exuberant because we've got a magnet word, like from those, poetry kits for the fridge.
Yeah.
We just put the word Exuberant on. So it's the Exuberant. That's what that means.
It's like, the old black singer, which one? When you have any color you want as long as it's black. Which one? So as Rady is learning the models, we had Exuberant, we had Whisper. We had a couple of different black machines in there with those names on them. So anyway, Exuberant is a 1591. It's a centennial model, which means it's from 1951. A 1591 from 1951. Whoa. Okay, I can say that. It's a great machine. And people go, well, what's the difference? They were both made, I think the 201 was introduced in 1935. And as we've talked about in the 101 episode, the 201 could not have happened without the 101. The 101 was over-engineered and introduced at the wrong time because the country didn't have much electricity yet and it was expensive. The 201 was introduced in 1935 at Singer's very top of the line. It drew upon what they learned from their experience with the 101 with the gear drive motor, the full rotary top drop-in bobbin. These things are the same. The 201 now has its light built into the front of the arm rather than a thing sticking out the back, so that's new. One thing they left off of the 201 was that wonky wick system that leaked oil all over when you folded the machine down into the cabinet. Oh, no, let's not keep that. Front-mounted tension, and because it is a full rotary gear drive, the 101, as I've said before, is one of my favorite machines because it's very quiet. The 201 is almost as quiet. Now, it has a gear drive potted motor, but it's they re-engineered it. The pot on a 1591 and a 201, here we go again. Those two machines use that same motor. 1591 and 201 use the same motor, the motor core. The part that mounts to the machine with the bobbin winder and all that is different because the bobbins are different. Oops. Okay, so if you're going to replace those motors, be sure I got the inner parts are the same, the outer parts are not. Anyway, the 101 was completely different, but they learned from that one, so they made this burly, I think the motor designation for the 201 and the 1591 is model PA. Anyway, it's a burly motor, gear drive, right to the machine. Now, I want to read this thing about the 1591. I've quoted from this website before. This person really knows their stuff. Pungo Living, Pungo livinghome.com. Lots of machine restoration stuff. Really in depth. More about the mechanics than the history, which is cool. Comparing the Singer Model 201 to the Singer Model 1591. This person wants to weigh in and give you a complete side-by-side comparison and take a look at these two machines, how they are the same and how they are different. The following comparison might surprise you. Okay, so we're talking about the 1591 and the 201. We're really going to emphasize the 201, but since they're brothers, they really are. They're brothers in the same family. So, aside from the potted motor that they both share, there is very little similarity between these machines for comparison. And then they have some excellent pictures. Similarities. Both machines have the same footprint area, the same hinge distance, and either will fit a Singer cabinet or case. The potted motor is the same on both machines, though the bobbin winder assembly attached to the motor is not, because of the different spindle bobbin, different sizes. The stitch length cover plate and back access plate are the same. The hand wheel is the same. The bobbin winder guide is the same. Spool pins, bobbin winder, tire, stop motion knob, and washer. Drop dog feed system is the same. Needle is the same. And that's about it. Aside from the motor, balance wheel, and the ancillary parts and pieces, all similarities end. They really are totally different machines in almost every respect. Let's take a closer look. First is sewing area. For many folks, especially quilters and those who appreciate a large harp space, which is your actual sewing space between the needle and the pillar, 201 beats the 1591 by a small margin. How much actual space is under there, not just the distance, but the, how much fabric can you roll up under there. So they measured in square inches. The 201 has 44 square inches, 1591 only 35. If that matters to your sewing projects, that might be a thing.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Next is bobbin style. Okay, so this is where the 201 has its top of the line horizontal full rotary hook and drop-in class 66 bobbin. This is what the 101 pioneered. The 201 has taken it on. The full rotary bobbin spins in a 360-degree circle. Okay, that's the 201. The 1591 uses an oscillating hook and a vertical side-loading bobbin. The oscillating hook rocks back and forth in less than half of a 360-degree circle. The Class 15 bobbin also holds more thread than the top drop-in Class 66. Okay, so you've got a bigger bobbin on the 15. The 1591 uses an oscillating hook. That's to take your hand in a C shape as if you were going to open a door and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Whereas the 201 just goes bzzz around in a circle. Okay, now what's the difference on that? Well, a rotary is smooth. An oscillator vibrates. That's the big deal.
Yeah, that stop and going back is going to cause more energy to get lost in changing direction.
Exactly, which is also why a rotary can go faster.
Sure, yeah.
The stitch mechanism goes faster. However, in my experience, a lot of people's experience, the rotary is a little more prone to thread jams because the mechanism is more tightly machined. On a 1591, without bobbin shuttle rattling around under there, there's a lot of room for thread, even if you're sewing a horse blanket or so. So I prefer the 1591 for heavier jobs, the 201 for faster, more precise jobs. And that's, it's not like, oh my God, I got to have this or I got to have that. It's just slight advantages down to the actual way the stitch is formed. It's like, that's just what it is. Okay, so then they show a lot of pictures of the gears. The 201 drive mechanism, this is deep nerdly engineering here, is fully gear driven except for the feed dog rock assembly, which is a little fork that when you look down inside that silver plate, you'll see it. So it talks about the 6 matched heat treated steel gears, and all that stuff. But the 1591 is actually a crankshaft with eccentric cams, not gears. The only thing gear-driven is the motor to the shaft itself. The rest of the machine doesn't have gears. The 15 mechanism is pretty old. I did not realize this. And now they're showing pictures of the underside here. Well lit, in focus. This is a great sight. And then up in the nose, in the needle bar, the 15, like yours, has the tension is in the facing away. It's to the left, right? Your tension assembly faces to the left.
Right.
On a 1591. And on a 201, you're looking at it. It's right there. Tension's right in front. So the threading's different. That whole deal's different. Both of them have their needles inserted with the flat side left, which is different than a lot of other singers. And let's see, 101, 201, 301, featherweight, all have that. And 1591 all have their needles backwards like that. And a lot of throat plates you'll see will have a little arrow molded into them on those model machines to remind you to put the needle that way and to thread it from right to left, not left to right.
Oh, that's nice.
So up in the nose, they're showing pictures of the nose here. The 201 has a much more precise linkage. So, weight. Both machines are constructed of cast iron. The 201 weighs 34 pounds. The 1591 weighs 26 pounds.
Wow.
I didn't realize that. While more mass helps dampen vibration, this person doesn't think the difference is appreciable in the operation of either when mounted in a cabinet. This leads to portability. Both are full size and neither is lightweight. Although both will fit in a full-size portable case, they are really best suited as cabinet machines. So a 201 weighs 34 pounds. Okay, have you seen the 2015 movie, The Dressmaker?
No, you've told me about it, but we haven't watched it yet. We should do a review episode about it.
We really should. It's a sewing-related movie. And the picture that they show is the actress in a very nice tailored suit getting off the train, and she's got a suitcase in one hand, and she's casually holding a wooden dome-top Singer sewing machine in the other hand as if it weighs as much as a purse. Now, later on in the movie, we find out that the machine she brought is a 201. She has a 201-2 is what she's sewn on the movie. She would not be carrying it. You weren't supposed to pick those up by the handle. You were supposed to pick them up. There's 2 cutouts on the underside because they're too heavy. They're just too dang heavy. You can't. I mean, you can. The handle on top is for taking the top on and off, but to pick up the whole thing.
Right.
So to see her holding that like it's a handbag is like, everybody when that came out went, yeah, right. Obviously, there's nothing in there.
Movie magic.
So the 201 and the 1591 can both be considered portable in that you can pick them up and take them to your summer house, but not portable in that you're going to get your son, hey, kid, get over here. Take this down to the car, Portable in that it can be moved, not like a cabinet machine or a treadle. That's why I make house calls.
Right.
How am I supposed to get this machine worked on? I can't even get it out the door. It weighs 300 pounds. Like, okay. Both the 201 and the 1591 are not industrial machines. Now, this is one of those words that just makes me want to spit bobbins. Chew needles. Use the good scissors on beer cans.
Oh, no.
An industrial machine has a motor that hangs under a table. And when you turn it on, it goes and it just runs. The motor runs all the time. And how you operate the machine is you clutch it. You got a knee lever, foot control, you clutch that. That's a power machine. That's a 0.5 horsepower motor at least under there. If you've ever seen a Singer potted motor next to an industrial motor, it's like a tangerine next to a watermelon.
They're just not the same.
It's not the same. But you'll go on eBay or any of these sites, this machine is industrial. Well, no. Both are domestic grade machines. Neither is commercial grade or industrial strength. However, the 201 does have a class distinction. Class is it a domestic? Is it commercial? Is it whatever?
Sure.
The 201 was known as a professional grade machine because it was designed for tailors and seamstresses and intended to be used hard for long periods. So it's really smooth. There's not a lot of resistance here. You can crank this thing all day. As long as you oil it, it's going to just keep going. And that's why it's neat that they showed in that movie that she's got a 201 because it was really intended
for professionals.
You can have one in your home, but if you've got a tailor shop, this is probably a good choice as well. One variation of the 201 had a knee-operated presser bar lift, not a knee speed control. Your speed control in that case would be down on the floor. And your right knee is raising the presser foot. So you don't have to put your right hand back there and raise it every time you need to turn. So that's definitely
cool.
A tailoring and commercial and costume shop kind of feature. And I love it.
Yeah, that doesn't seem useful for a regular hobbyist, but that seems like it would be very useful if you were like plowing through projects.
I don't know. Once you've had that feature, it's hard to get rid of it. Because say you got your both hands on your fabric and you have to turn things and you have to raise that foot up and down. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Even in my imagination, you've just sold me. Boom,
yeah.
Done. Now I want one.
I'm on the lookout for that version of the 201. It's a model 1200, I think, and it does not have the potted motor. That way you can actually use it in a power stand with a bigger motor. While this distinction does not raise it to commercial grade, it is recognized to set it apart from others in the domestic arena. The 1591 has no similar distinction or feature. Does this mean the 1591 won't stand up under similar usage? I think not. From my view, they are both remarkable and tough sewing machines. Even considering a 70-year-old vintage of either, you won't live long enough to wear either of them out.
That part.
Which takes me back to your machine that your friend sent you the picture of. Now, you described it and you showed it to me. And among collectors, there's estate sale finds, there's thrift store finds, there's barn finds, and there's yard finds. You got the yard
is
find.
that. Yep.
And you said that this was found in the yard of a high school that they bought. They're going to renovate this into something?
I have no idea what they're doing with it. They just said it was an old high school that they bought, and this was near the gym.
Near the gym. I wonder what year the high school was in operation. Because this definitely, because the 201, all right, now we were going back to 301 slant shank system was the new thing in schools in the mid-1950s. But the 201, I don't know that Singer, I don't know what their school policies were back then, but I can see that because it's such a burly machine that they might have had a fleet, not maybe all of them, but maybe there were 3 to 5 201s in cabinets in the, who knows? I want to know why this machine is by a high school and it's outside. Was the high school gutted? Has it been open to vandals for a while? I just love the story. How did he get there?
Yeah, I was not sufficiently nosy to bring these details. I'm sorry.
Interrogate this person. It's a sewing machine. You opened this case. Now you gotta lead us along. Don't show us the book if you don't want us to ask questions. But as I was looking at it, okay, that's a yard find. I have restored machines in that condition and worse. Back to full sewing capability. There's not much. I've said this before. It's really hard to kill a sewing machine unless you
drop it.
Right. If this was found in mud, even if it was dropped, probably not going to hurt it. Dropping it on cement, that's the thing. But it had surface rust on all the bright parts. Now that's really hard. You can make that look decent, but you can't replace the chrome that's gone. I mean, unless you order parts, and some people are like, I'm bringing this sucker back to full on. Okay, cosmetically, that'll be a lot of work. But as a tool, can you bring this back? Yes. The only possible thing that might take a little more time and skill would be the motor itself. Did that take any water? Water in the windings of a motor can rot the insulation, blah, meow, etc. So electrically, there could be some problems. Mechanically, there's no reason why that can't be made to run again.
What about in the tension or whatever, where there's really thin parts and wires? Could some of those rust through and need to be replaced?
Oh, yeah.
But not a big deal to replace them. They're easy to do, I assume.
Oh, yeah. A Singer tension assembly, an old school one like that, I think it's 13 pieces. And, it all comes apart for repair. You can buy the whole unit for about $20 because that's one of the things people harvest off dead machines is that whole tension deal. The 301 that we just picked up, the tension's very rusted on that. The little discs themselves are so badly pitted that they're going to have to be replaced. Not a problem. It's a common piece. I have lots of them. They're available. The little check spring that you're talking about, the little wire, yes, that's also a thing that can rust enough that it breaks off. And you've just got a little stubby there. That's pretty common. Again, that's about a $2 piece. What else could possibly be wrong? The hook and bobbin case, I've restored some really rank rusty ones, but a 201, again, because it is such a fine piece of machinery, if there's rust that has gotten into the metal like metal cancer, you got to replace that part too. Again, it's all available. 201, there were a lot of them made. Unlike the 101, where there were only 250,000 made, the 201, there are millions. Millions, millions, millions. I still run into them in thrift stores. If you want to buy a restored one from somebody, $300 is a good price in a cabinet with all the goodies. I see them in thrift stores for between, it depends. It really depends on what they look like. People who don't know anything about sewing machines, they'll buy the pretty ones. That was our experience out at Florence, right? What did I buy?
Oh,
the cruddy
yes. Yes, because the pretty one it cost so much more. The pretty Tiffany one was gorgeous, and they were like, well, clearly that's worth $250. And it was like, well,
sure.
Probably, yeah.
Even if you're not going to actually sew on it, what a beautiful piece for your vintage front room, right?
I did not need it, and I wanted it so bad. It was so pretty.
You're going to love this Davis. It really, I hope you're going to love the Davis. The cabinet is in much prettier shape than that one was. And we'll look at the decals. But yeah, that Tiffany was pretty. Tiffany 27. What a jump from that to the 201. Okay, that Tiffany 27, I think we dated that to the 1907 or something.
Yeah, that was what you said was the aughts.
Yeah, and then just like 30 years later, we've got this electricity. So the 201, now it is, remember we were talking about the 301 as not the big sister of the featherweight, but as the prodigal daughter of the 201 and the featherweight. 201 has the drop feed, so does 1591, and they kept that for 301 in an even easier way to do it. Yay! All three of those machines have a rotary hook. 201 is top drop-in, 301 and 221 featherweight, vertical. Some people like that vertical axis removable bobbin case. They say that makes a straighter stitch because it doesn't twist the thread with the horizontal one. That's some pretty nitpicky stuff, but there are people that will pick a 1591 over a 201 because of the bobbin case orientation and the thread twist issue.
Interesting. I will say, in my preference, the side, like I've done more of the side loading than the top-down loading in terms of my just personal sewing career. And sometimes it goes in real easy, and sometimes it's like trying to plug in one of those old USB cables or like a power brick behind the couch. Like you just cannot get it, and it just will not sit right. And it's just very, very frustrating, and you yearn for the top-down where you can just see what you're doing easily.
Yes. The top drop-in bobbin that was wow, this is a really customer-forward thing. And the first top drop-in bobbin was off to the left side of the needle. It's the Model 66. By the 101 is still off to the left. 201 still off to the left. They move the top drop-in around to the front. Can't remember when that happened. Oh, that'll be into the 60s. That'll be for later. Yeah. So why do you want a 201? You want a 201 if you've got room for a big, beautiful cabinet. If you like the sound it makes, the motor just goes, boo, and the rotary is just so, it's not clattery at all. It's just an amazing sounding machine. Yes, I have been known to sit in front of machines with no thread and just run them and listen. Keep the foot up. Or put fabric in. Just don't put any thread in. Just let it go through. Downside of the 201, I do not like that front-mounted light. It's right there. It's easy to burn yourself on it if you haven't changed over to an LED. And that's where we talked about the 301 where they put the light under the arm, an improvement, right? And Featherweight still had it in front too. Featherweight and 201 came out right at the same time, so they shared those little things. So this fascinating dive into the minutiae, some two very popular full-size machines, the 201 and the 1591, which means we won't have to do a separate epi on that one. Because if you have a chance to get one, okay, what are the field marks? First thing, for either one, you're looking at a sewing machine, where's the motor? Does it have a belt? No belt. Okay, now you've got some kind of direct drive motor. Is it okay? A Singer with no belt. Okay. Where's the tension? Is it, if you were sitting to use the machine, is the tension knob facing you, or is it off on the face side of the nose to the left? If it's on the nose, it's a 1591. Built-on motor, tension on the nose. Built-on motor, tension facing you, 201. There you go. There's other stuff you can look at, but those are your two field marks of it's either this or that. Oh, but wait, what about the 101? Built-on light on the front, 201. Light on the back, 101.
Okay. And that's how you can tell those three apart.
That's how you can tell those three apart. And all three of them are heavy, and they all make beautiful cabinet machines. And if you're into the heavier, going to use weird heavy threads, I would suggest the 1591. If you're into super precise, quiet quilting and heirloom type sewing, I mean, the 201 will punch through all kinds of stuff. But for my $1, I save the 201 for the fine stuff and the 1591 for plowing through horse blankets. Actually, I saved the Davis for that. We'll talk about that. We already talked about the Davis.
Anyhow, this has been a great deep dive here on Used to Sew, talking about the 201 and how you can tell all the different swoopy black sewing machines apart. And stay threaded, and we will catch you next time. And there you have it. Another deep dive into the minutiae between two very popular Singer sewing machine models. The 201 and the 1591 are superficially identical but profoundly different, but also close siblings, and understanding how all those things are true has been a delightful half-an-hour discussion for me. I hope it was for you too. We discussed the weights of a few machines, what counts as a portable machine, the downsides of 201s, and referenced again the evergreen resource pungolivinghome.com. We both learned things and have put a movie review onto the list of possible future episodes. I also promise you more details about that lawn 201 that my friend found. The story of the school it was found at is: it was built in Arkansas in the 1930s as a Depression-era construction project for the nearby farm kids. The first graduating class was in 1939, and the last graduating class was in 1989. So, this school represents 50 years of rural K-12 education squarely in the middle of the 20th century. I bet this rusty lawn machine was totally one of those machines that were deployed in fleets for teaching the next generation of sewists, before Kenmore took over that market, as discussed in our Sears and Kenmore episode. The school was fully closed in 1992, so I think it is safe to assume that this machine spent somewhere in the vicinity of 30 years sitting in the lawn. Poor thing. We are currently deeply lost in a sewing machine and engineering rut, with last week's episode being about tension and next week's episode being planned to be about the swing needle, aka the zigzag. I promise we do have crafting topics and calls to action for you to engage with in future episodes. We just have to follow the dopamine where it leads until then. As a reminder, we are unofficially sponsored by Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, who do repairs and restorations. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can support us by sharing the podcast with your friends, and also with money, at patreon.com/used2sew. Thank you for listening to us here at Used to Sew. We always welcome your additions, corrections, and feedback in general. Please reach out to us via email at usedtosew@gmail.com. Used to Sew is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.